Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Grave Reviews. My name is Chris, and today I am talking about Amityville Horror 2, The Possession. AKA, we're gonna rip off The Exorcist for a lot of this movie. Yes, this is the sequel to the original Amityville Horror. This one is about a family that moves into a house that they got way too cheap. Sound familiar? Perhaps. Not everything is as it seems, and some supernatural hijinks play out. This is a prequel to the first one, showing the original murders that take place. But it was concerning going into this, being like, oh shit, is this just like a straight up the same thing as the first movie? Because you're like, oh, a new family's moving into a house and they're all happy and blah, blah, blah. Are they going to get haunted? But it changes from that all happy family thing to like, oh, we're a broken family with a very abusive father. And it gets dark. So they do twist on the setup a little bit. One thing I didn't mention in the original Amityville review was the musical score, which I thought was really good. And this movie opens continuing the musical score from the original, but slightly modifying it. So it has this little haunting like melody thing with this vocals that sound really cool. Sets the tone. Every time you see this house in the fall with that music and the leaves and stuff, just sitting there, it's a cool visual. Like, it's a neat looking house. It is a little creepy because of the movies, but the way they frame it and everything, it's cool. Definitely not a big a fan of this one. It does do something slightly different, and it feels like they're going for a little bit more shock value in some of the things they cover in this movie. And then the last third of the movie becomes a different movie completely. It's as if the writer was watching The Exorcist and just started rewriting The Exorcist, because that's pretty much what happens by the end. And then the very end is a whole bunch of nonsense, which we're going to get into a little bit here. So, this movie is definitely more effects heavy, a little bit more paced, where it feels like it's a little bit more energetic to what's happening. There is a lot of fun effects. I will underscore that element. However, there's some really fun, cheesy effects, but when it's juxtaposed against like really dark themes of abuse and incest, it's hard to figure out where you're gonna like land when you're watching this thing, because you're like, oh man, that's like, oh, what is he doing to his sister? No, like, it's gross. And the abuse stuff is hard to watch because it's done fairly well and it's uncomfortable. At one point you're like enjoying this campy thing, and the next moment it's super dark, and so it's hard to enjoy a lot of the movie, at least for me. It's not to say like I can't enjoy a movie that covers dark and serious themes. It's just, it's undermined when the next few scenes are really cheesy and campy and intentionally fun. Does that make sense? Maybe not. I don't know. I did like a lot of the camera work in this movie. There's a lot of like fluid moving shots through the house, and the house looks the same from the original, which is cool. So it does feel a lot like the original in some ways with that stuff, but also has its own identity, and you get to see the murders play out a little bit more fleshed out with a really tense sequence that goes on for a while. Because in the original, they show you the murders, but it's all very quick vignettes. And in this, you get to see the whole sequence, which was pretty well done. However, it's like an hour into the movie, and then you're like, what? How is this? Is this over? But it's not. It just shifts over to a new character, and we kind of start a whole new movie over. It's weird. Like, it's unconventional and it's uncomfortable for the viewer. And it's clear that they didn't have a real place to go with the end or something they had in mind, because, like I said, it harps so much on the fucking Exorcist. The effects, the makeup, the whole idea by the end. And then the solution, again, the very climax of the movie makes no sense. This kid murdered his entire family, but they want to argue he was possessed, so we get a little courtroom drama, and then even the judge is like, oh, that's fucking nonsense, dude. And then at the end, there's so much convoluted stuff that happens and the kid is saved from his possession, but it's like, you're not going to get away with murdering your entire family, so cool, you're no longer possessed, but you're going to go to life in prison at least. And happy days. Like, what? I enjoy it for the most part. Like I said, there's stuff in here for everyone. If you want a more serious tone movie, it has some of that, but then it also has a ton of camp and then a nonsense third act. It's just a mess, but it's kind of a fun mess. I'd give it like, I don't know, 6 out of 10. It's all right. It's all right. It's maybe worth watching, especially if you enjoyed the first one, and it's a prequel to the first one, so you get that element to it. Yeah, Amityville II, The Possession. Perhaps it will possess you to leave a comment, a like, and subscribe. Not a sub, don't leave us. Actually, I'd eat a sub. And subscribe to the channel. So that's it for this episode of Grave Reviews. I'll be back next time, guys. Goodbye.